The Soviet government did not want to hear this story, but as they say, manuscripts don't burn. These were the same bureaucrats who drove the man I love to madness in fear. This is the story of the night the devil came to Moscow, and the story of how I made a bargain with him to free the one I love from his pain. This is the story of the night the devil came to Moscow, the night he told me,
The theme of today's Russian literature makeup tutorial will be the Master and Margarita, and I will be doing my makeup based on Margarita's makeup from the 2005 film adaptation of the novel. The Master and Margarita was written by Mikhail Bulgakov. It was first published in 1967, but the uncensored version was not released until 1973. It is Bulgakov's greatest work and is widely considered one of the greatest works of Soviet literature ever. It is a satire and criticism of Soviet bureaucracy, and it centers around the devil making a visit to Moscow during the age of the fervently atheistic Soviet Union. The narrative is split between two settings, Soviet Moscow and Jerusalem during the time of Jesus. This segment of the novel focuses on the encounter between Jesus of Nazareth in the novel called Yeshua and Pontius Pilate. Back in Soviet Russia, the devil comes to hold his annual ball in Moscow. He comes in the form of a mysterious German man named Voland, or sometimes just called the Professor. He of course brings with him a cabal of strange henchmen. During his time in the Soviet Union, in addition to having fun messing with Soviet bureaucrats, Voland becomes especially interested in the lives of two people, the Master and his girlfriend Margarita. The Master, who by his own admission has no other name, is a writer who spent his life working on a novel about Jesus of Nazareth and Pontius Pilate. However, he is slowly driven to madness by the cruelty of the Soviet censors and bureaucrats, and by his fear of them. After being falsely reported to the authorities by a neighbor, the Master is eventually arrested and thrown into an insane asylum, but not before burning his manuscript and abandoning his devoted girlfriend Margarita. Margarita, meanwhile, is trapped in a childless, loveless marriage, and, not knowing whether or not her beloved is alive or dead, says that she would sell her soul to the devil to be with him again. Margarita gets her wish, and Voland gives her the opportunity to become a witch and accompany him to his great ball. In exchange for her services, Voland offers her a wish. She wishes, of course, to be with the Master again, whom she still loves. Upon their reunion, the two characters wish for nothing more than to go back to the Master's basement apartment and live there peacefully. Voland is not satisfied with this, and sends his henchmen to kill them both with poisoned wine. Upon their deaths, the two are taken to a mystical realm where they find the Master's main character, Pontius Pilate, sitting on his throne at the edge of the moon, where he has been for 2,000 years. The Master is charged with the task of freeing this character, which he does, and Pontius Pilate is sent up to heaven to be with Yeshua. In the end, the Master and Margarita end up living together in a sort of limbo, where the Master will be granted the one and only thing that he wished for and never got in life: peace, and Margarita will get her wish, to be by his side. In addition to this central plot, we also get a taste for the activities of the devil and his henchmen as they prance about Moscow, disturbing the lives of the Soviet bureaucrats and questioning their atheistic beliefs. The story is probably semi-autobiographical, based upon Bulgakov's experiences with the Soviet censors and bureaucrats, as well as his relationship with his wife. The novel's most famous and most central line is, "Manuscripts don't burn." It is uttered by the devil himself, and it appears to be a big fat middle finger to the Soviet censors who threatened to destroy Bulgakov's life and career. The novel is very clever, and it often blends fantasy with reality and draws very strong parallels between the persecution of Jesus and the persecution of writers in the Soviet Union. This surreal mixing of fantasy and reality is only furthered by the fact that some of the characters in The Master and Margarita are also characters in the Master's novel, namely Yeshua and Pontius Pilate. And of course, we can't deny the fact that Bulgakov was commenting on the strangely militant atheism blended with politics that existed in the Soviet Union at that time. However, this is not a religious novel by any stretch. You might notice that both the devil himself and Jesus Christ have human names, Voland and Yeshua. It's also prudent to point out that the devil really is not a bad guy in this story at all. Bulgakov is doing several things here. Firstly, he's drawing upon themes from Goethe's Faust, another favorite of mine, which explains why the devil in the novel is a German man, and why the female protagonist's name is Margarita, just as it is in Goethe's narrative. However, her role in The Master and Margarita is the reverse of what it is in Faust. In Faust, the main character gives his soul to the devil for her sake, whereas in The Master and Margarita, she gives her soul to the devil for his. Although she's mainly focused on the love of the man in her life, Margarita actually has a lot of strength and agency in the novel, and she's a very complex and interesting character. Bulgakov is also trying to make the point that there is light and darkness in every human being. We are all under the influence of both Yeshua and Voland, and that's what makes us human. Ultimately, what Bulgakov wants to say is that ideas are immortal. No matter how people try, they cannot destroy the truth, or creativity, or art. No matter how people try to destroy them, these essential parts of the human experience will be kept alive by creative minds like that of the Master, and strong wills like that of Margarita.